Why did Britain fly the Saudi flag at half-mast if the country has such an appalling human rights record?
The reason for doing that was that there's a long-standing relationship between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and our United Kingdom here, a relationship between our monarchs, a relationship between the governments. We don't agree with lots of things that the Saudis do. We don't agree with the way they treat people, for instance, criminals, when we make very clear those differences. But when the king died, as a mark of respect, we thought it was right to show that respect.
But isn't that disrespectful to the people who the Saudi king has sentenced to 1,000 lashes?
What?
And you mentioned that there's a relationship between the British government and the Saudi monarch and vice versa. But that's not a relationship that I'm going to guess from that judge of a round of applause. That's not a relationship shared by the citizens.
No, well, look,
which isn't very
okay, I'll try and answer your question really directly, because I know how concerned people were about that, because they look at things that happen in Saudi Arabia and think, why do we have this relationship? Let me tell you as Prime Minister why I think it's worthwhile. We have a relationship with Saudi Arabia, partly over things like trying to achieve peace in the Middle East, but crucially over fighting terrorism. Now, I can tell you...
oil.
Yeah, please, one point. I promise I'll shut up. You've been listening to politicians all day. But I can tell you one time, since I've been Prime Minister, a piece of information that we've been given by that country has saved potentially hundreds of lives here in Britain. Now, you can be Prime Minister and just say exactly what you think about every regime in the world and make great headlines and give great speeches. But I think my first job is to try and keep this country safe from terrorism, and if that means you have to build strong relationships, sometimes with regimes you don't always agree with, that I think is part of the job, and that's the way I do it, and that's the best way I can explain it.
Just on that